Hi, I'm Sarah Weiler from Contemporary Education. In this video today, I want to talk about play-based project design. So you might hear the terms play-based learning, play-based teaching and learning, play pedagogy. And what I want to discuss today very specifically is a kind of project design that's based around imaginary pretend play. Imaginary pretend play that has roles, scripts, scenarios, and props. In this video, I'm going to introduce a series that is all about designing play-based projects, thinking about 4 key organizational factors: time, space, resources, and relationships. In terms of time, there are 4 different aspects of time to be considered in a play-based project design. 2 moments that are pre-play. 1 moment that is the actual play, immersing yourself within the pretend imaginary situation, and then a post-play or an after-play moment. So first pre-play moment can be about building up resources for students to use and play, like reading books and stories about going to the grocery store, going on a field trip to the grocery store. Things that I call sustained inquiry, where students are building up, what is it? What does this mean to go to the grocery store? And it's not that they've never been. They might go to the grocery store regularly, but also to call their attention to certain things, like what's the first thing you see when you walk into the grocery store? Is it the produce section? Why do you think that is? Is the produce section together with the frozen food section? Noticing that there are sections, that there's a way that the grocery store is organized, and how that makes our experience more efficient when we know what to look for, how things are labeled, and how things are organized, and why they're organized in that way. So this first pre-play time block is related to what I call sustained inquiry, which is researching through books, interviews, field trips, etc. And it's related to getting to know, why do our bodies need food? What are different types of food? What are different classifications of food? And the real world activities associated with going to the grocery store, like how does the food get there? Where does it come from? And then what happens after that? So understanding this whole process of production and consumption, and helping children understand how it all works and the possibilities of how it could work, thinking about potential conflicts, dilemmas, and contradictions within that system. Another second pre-play moment would be preparation, organization of the scenario and props. So thinking not to create a play-based scenario with everything pre-made, pre-packaged, everything perfect, but that the children themselves can be the ones preparing the materials, organizing the scenario with the educator. So it's something that their own kind of DIY process with guidance is something that then is very meaningful to them in terms of how they then go to the next moment of time after these 2 pre-play situations of actually playing in the imaginary situation. And what indicates this transition into playing in the imaginary situation is that everybody who's playing has a role. So I'm not playing Sarah anymore. I'm playing the role of the cashier, or I'm playing the role of someone who needs to shop on a budget, or whatever it might be. And then that's me inside of it. So I don't act as myself, as the teacher or the educator. I act as the cashier. And then through my role, and this is the anchor of the whole play-based project design, is having a lot of time in joint play amongst children and educators. The importance of these moments, that within the role, problems can be brought, solutions can be proposed, that you're utilizing concepts that are part of the teaching and learning process, that are part of the learning objectives in this interdisciplinary play-based project. And then the last moment of organizing time would be post-play, right? This guided feedback and reflective dialogue to look at how those moments of joint play were and asking questions about them. Could it be different? How was it? What were problems that arose? What were solutions that were proposed? How do these moments relate to the moments of sustained dialogue where we were interviewing this person, going on this field trip, reading this story, watching this documentary? How do these things inform the decisions that we make within this real life situation that's being emulated in imaginary pretend play? So that gives you a little idea of the organization of time. Most of the time should be in joint play, but the other 3 moments are important, and I have a whole video on organizing time in a play-based project. The second key aspect, organizational factor, is space, and thinking about spaces in 3 main ways. Similar to time, a space for preparation, so it might be making props, preparing the scenario, like a maker space of actually producing from cardboard and other materials and painting and putting together props and scenarios. And also, as a second part of that, let's say you have a space that you cannot maintain the imaginary situation, the scenario there all the time. You need to pack it up and put it away to be able to do other things. You have a smaller space to work with. So there's also this moment where you're actually setting up this space for joint play, thinking about how to organize things, where things should be, where people should be in the space, etc. The second space is the actual joint play area where the scenario and props are set up and the play is happening. And those 2 spaces can be happening simultaneously. Like there can be 2 tables with different workshop activities for the production of the scenarios, production of the props, as well as a partial scenario or a first iteration of the scenario and props and joint play happening. So these things in time don't have to be completely separated out. The spaces don't have to be completely separated out, but thinking about a space for preparation. A preparation can also involve making play plans and thinking about what role might I take in play today? What problems could arise in the scripts that are developing this narrative, this storyline within the play that I could bring up. So there's preparation, there's joint play, and then there's the post-play space for having this reflected dialogue and guided feedback about joint play. That moment that you're having this discussion together with the kids and reflecting about how you're dealing with what they're learning in these learning objectives within the pretend imaginary situation of play. Third aspect to think about in terms of organizing a play-based project are the relationships. I think this might be one of the most important things to think about, and I want to direct you to a graphic. This is a graphic that I produced, but it's based on the work of many different play theorists that talk about educators as children's play partners, but along a spectrum. So there are moments that both children and educators can be inside the joint play situation taking a role. There's moments that within the joint play situation taking a role, the educator or the child can be leading this joint play so that they are making initiatives and making offers. I talk about what I mean by an offer in this video on relationships, but they're making proposals for action that others can build upon, so they're leading the play situation. Another position would be following the play situation, just complementing those offers and trying to expand further upon those offers, balancing between leading and following. And that's all inside of the joint play situation. Other moments can be some children and educators can be inside the play situation and others outside, taking an observing role, taking a directing role, as if it's some kind of theatrical production. So there's different moments and different ways of participating in the play situation. taking on various different positions. And I talk about this in the video on relationship. Finally, the fourth organizational factor to consider in designing a play-based project are resources. And I've talked in other videos about resources. When I'm saying resources, I mean material and conceptual resources that empower us as human beings to act with more intention, with more meaning within the lives that we lead and within specifically play-based projects. These resources can be introduced into the play-based project design inside the imaginary pretend play situation, where the educator is taking on a role in introducing different problems into the narrative story that's being collaboratively created with children, or outside of it in moments of pre-play or post-play. Pre-play in the moments of sustained inquiry, like I said, field trips, stories, documentaries, expert interviews, etc., as well as post-play, those moments of guided feedback on joint play and reflective dialogue, looking at how educators and children are playing together and how that relates to the stories and interviews and experiences and field trips that they have been researching. So please check out my other videos in this series, as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel, Contemporary Education. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and also check out the website, contemporaryeducation.com.